Welcome in, everyone. That's the name of my new podcast with today's guest, Al Freeman. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Al.
First of all, thank you very much for this awesome opportunity. I've been looking forward to this for a minute, and we've been trying to get together for a minute. It's just
Yeah, it's been hard to get everyone's schedules to line up, but
yeah.
we finally did it.
But I'm Al D. Freeman, and I
Very
am a stand-up comedian, producer here in Houston. Actually, 41 years at the game, we call it the game of stand-up and production. So I'm excited about being here and telling this story that we're gonna embark upon today.
Yeah, I don't know anyone else in Houston who's been producing shows for as long as you have.
Yes.
So you've been doing it for quite a bit. When was your first show? When did you produce your first show?
I did my first show. It was in August of 1989.
Very cool.
Um, and,
I was 5.
Well, yeah. The deal was is that there were only a couple of comedy clubs open at the time. The Comedy Workshop, which was, the main club for local comedians, where you saw, Sam Kinison and Bill Hicks and Brett Butler and Ron Schock and all of those great comedians. And then there was the Laugh Stop. Well, it was hard enough for us to get on stage as African American comedians. There were just a few of us who were able to break that barrier and get on stage. But certainly, producing was out of the question. And I started doing comedy early on and met a guy named Skipper Lee Frazier. Skipper Lee Frazier is legendary in Houston because he brought the first black radio station here, KCOH. He would produce the shows that included James Brown, or any of the legendary, entertainers who came to Houston. He would produce their shows, and he put me on my first show. I may have been 6 months in the business, and he put me on a show in Austin, Texas, at the Paramount Theater, 2,800 seats. I mean, I don't even have maybe 5 minutes of material, and I opened for the Mighty OJs, and so it was there. We were sitting in the green room, and he said, you got to produce your own shows. You're going to have to put yourself on your own shows. That's the way you're going to get on shows. And I took that to heart. So when I came back to Houston, there was this nightclub that was a couple of blocks from my apartment, right off Dowling Street. It was called Club Oz. And I used to go in there all the time, have a drink, met the owners, told them I was a comedian. They said, hey, why don't you just do a show here? I go, whoa, what? And I did my first show there. I'm going to tell you how long ago it was. We recorded that show on a beta tape. A beta tape with Houston Access was the actual producer of that show. And, it was so successful, man. It just took off from there, man. And I believe some other things popped off as a result of it.
You're the first person I heard that went and performed live in front of so many people just 6 months out. That must have been so scary.
It was scary. Here's the
Must have
thing.
been terrifying.
Well, I had a really good friend of mine named Darren Watson, who was a stand-up comedian, and he was one of those guys, that we were one of the only few African Americans who could get on stage. It was myself, Rushion McDonald, Thea Vidal, Craig Bush, Robert Parrish were the ones. And so Darren and I, being the younger comedians, would always be ostracized. We'd be out, we could get on at 2 o'clock in the morning or something like this. But, we 17, 18 years old, we just kind of hanging out. And he told me, he said, hey, man, my mom is real good friends with this guy named Skipper Lee Frazier. Now, I knew who Skipper Lee Frazier was because he was legendary. I mean, he was the first producer of Archie Bell and the Drells, the legendary song Tighten Up. And KCOH, my dad used to listen to him every morning. My dad would be taking me to school, and we would listen to KCOH and Rick Roberts and Skipper Lee. So when he said Skipper Lee, I was, I know who he is. He says, well, he's doing a show in Austin. He's got the OJs. He's looking for a comedian. Now, I thought Darren was gonna, go after that. He's like, no, I only been in a few months, man. I'm not trying to do anything like that. So I called Skipper Lee Frazier. I looked up his number in the Yellow Pages.
The Yellow Pages.
The Yellow Pages. The Venus Motel is where he was at. And see, he used to do, like I said, he would do Ray Charles. He did Red Fox. He did Whitman Mayo. He did, James Brown. He did all these legendary performers. And they would come and stay at his motel. Now, his motel is in Sunnyside on Reed Road.
I know where that is.
The Venus Motel was the spot for African Americans or any minorities to stay. Now, it really was what we affectionately call nowadays a fuck motel.
Yeah.
An hourly kind of deal. And so I called him there and left a message with his secretary or whomever answered the phone. And I thought, I'll never hear from him again. And then I get this call. I answer the phone. Now I'm at my mother's house now, so it's my mother's phone, just plugged into the wall. And I answer the phone. He goes, "Hey, this is Skipper Lee Frazier." He had a real deep voice. "I'm trying to reach Al D. Freeman." I said, "This is Al D. Freeman." He said, "I heard you a funny motherfucker." I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "Well, you know where the Venus Motel at?" I go, "Yeah." He said, "Bring your ass over here. I'll be here in about 5 minutes. How far are you away?" I said, "Well, I'm in Sunnyside, about Cullen Boulevard." "You got 2 minutes to goddamn get here." Because, I'm at Cullen and Airport.
Yeah,
so
you're right there.
Yeah, right there. So I went and I went to the office, and the office was like, it was like a Mod Squad kind of fucking office. I mean, it had the mirror ball kind of spinning, and this is his office. But it was like a refinished motel room. And he had like 3 or 4 screens. The first time I've seen somebody with 3 or 4 television screens up. And he wanted to talk to me about comedy. And he started to tell me about Red Fox, about George Carlin, about Richard Pryor, about all these great comedians that he had come across. And now, while he's telling me this, he's got fuck movies on. These are porno movies. So I'm sitting here watching this old dirty porno by him, and he's every other word say, "Fuck, goddamn it, motherfucker, you gonna be money, okay?" And so I'm gonna give you a little test. I want you to come to the Rotary Club at it was on the campus of Texas Southern. They had a YMCA on the campus of Texas Southern, and that's where the Black Rotary Club was. So it was all of the black business persons, because this is Skipper Lee Frazier. He owned a radio station, he owned the Venice Motel. He had all these stars, so he was a pretty big guy. So all the black businesses were there. They do a luncheon and that kind of deal. So he wanted me to come and perform for the luncheon.
Okay, and how did that show go?
Oh man, it was horrible, man.
You bombed pretty bad, huh?
Did I ever? Man, it was terrible. And here's why. And he kidded me up 30 years later about this particular
No, he didn't
incident.
let it go. 30 years?
30 years later. And as a matter of fact, I was working with Dave Chappelle. Now, this is 30 years to something later. I'm working with Dave Chappelle, and we run into Skipper Lee Frazier. And I tell him, "Hey, this is Skipper Lee Frazier." When I just mentioned Archie Bell and the Drells, they knew who he was and who that was. And he told a story. He said, "Did this motherfucker tell you about the first time I gave him a gig?" No, well, what happened was the Rotary Club featured, like noontime in the days, the top business people in Houston, which one of them was this lady who was a friend of my mother's. Her name was Helen George. As a matter of fact, I saw Helen George at the Ensemble a little while ago. And I kind of froze up because I was back then, I was, not much different than I am now, just extremely dirty, just foul mouth. And I saw this lady who knew my mother, so I was like, whoa, I can't say, "What's wrong with you?" I said, I can't do this because the lady's there and my mother's going to find out. He just laughed his ass off. And I bombed. And, I left, I went home, but he called me, "Come on back up here to this goddamn motel." Then he said, I'm putting you on with the goddamn OJs. I said, the OJs? Yeah, we're going to be in Austin, Texas at the Paramount Theater. You're getting $250. Well, back then, $250 shit was like $1,000.
That's a lot of money.
I couldn't believe that he was going to pay me after I bombed. I said, but I didn't. But he said, don't worry about that. That's going to happen. But you got to have the nuts to get back on the goddamn stage. You show up in motherfucking Austin. You hear me? And let me tell you something. If you die up there on stage, you die by your goddamn self.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I had a week or so before the deal. And I was going to the comedy workshop every day. For 4 years of my life, I showed up at the comedy workshop every day because they were open 7 days a week then. Comedy was Monday through Sunday. And the open mics were legendary because there's no telling who you might see on the open mic. With it being Houston's hottest spot, that meant that all of the great comedians who came to the Lap Stop or came to Houston came to the comedy workshop because it was Sam Kinnison's place. You know, it was Fred Greenleaf's place. It was, it was Ron Schock's place. It was, a young Andy Huggins back then, Jimmy Pineapple, Thea Vidal, Rushama. It was the open mics were phenomenal because all the pros went up first. And they would let 5 amateurs go up. You had to sign up at 7 p.m. to get there. We would show up. The only way you could get up is if you showed up and waited out there in the parking lot of Frost. Because it was like, Frost used to be a clothing store right there at Shepherd, and it was Shepherd and San Felipe.
Okay.
That's where we met it because it was right across the way from the comedy workshop. We would show up there at 5:30 to get in line. In order to be there, you'd have to sit there right there by the door from 5:30 to the end until Jerry opened up their door and signed up. I was there, 4:45 or something like this. So I was there every day of my life. Every day I showed up at the comedy work. No rain, sleet, snow, 365 days a year. If it was open, I was there.
How often did you get on that stage when you signed up?
Almost every time.
Almost every time? So you were super early. You beat all those other comics.
Yeah, and then they started to like me.
Yeah,
because I was so consistent, and I would wait, now almost every time. There was sometimes I didn't get on, but I stayed and I hung out in the green room and I just sat there and watched and listened, but I went up every day because I told the manager, Jerry, hey, I'm opening up for the OJ. He said, OJs? How the hell you get a gig like that? You're not even, you're still wet behind the ears. You don't even have 5 minutes.
And you got a mouth. You knew who to ask. Sometimes that's all it takes. It's just asking the right person, you know?
In this business, it's all about who you know.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I just went up every night. I just went up every night, just going up. And then I started going to the blues clubs, the Ready Room, the Blue Ice. These were black nightclubs where they played live blues or jazz. And I would ask the MC there whether I could go up at intermission. So I was doubling up. Well, by the time I got to Austin, I probably had a good 8 minutes. And I went up on stage. I remember this comedian, Hi-Fi White was the comedian. Hi-Fi White came all the way from Los Angeles with the OJs. He was the first cross-dressing, maybe transgender comedian back then. And he was a buff man, a buff dude, but he dressed in a lavender kind of flowing, pantsuit. He went up on stage and then, he's like, introduced me. This is a new cat. He's a virgin. He's going to break his cherry on us tonight. It's 2,800 people out there. Wanted to see the OJs.
Yeah, he set you up.
But I fucking killed.
Oh, man, that was all that practice you did.
And matter of fact, Skipper Lee gave me 10 minutes. I remember I may have did about 17 minutes. And
17 minutes, and you're like, what, 6-8 months in now at this point?
Just new. But it's, when you when you do this business and you get in the flow, I was excited. I mean, I never, I wasn't even in it, and I'm backstage with the OJs, and then at that time it's like all celebrities from Austin are there, so backstage, and they got this big buffet, and it was like I've never seen anything like that. I didn't know that it could, that this was entertainment. Maybe I was too dumb to be scared or whatever. And I had my boys, my homeboys was with me, from Houston, and they was talking shit all the way up there, all the way, in the hotel. And when we got in the arena, they was quiet as church house mouses. I mean, they, because I don't know why they were, but they were. But when I started killing, I could hear them laughing. And then the people in the front row were laughing, and then I could hear all this laughter. And it's like quick. It's like the first time having sex. It goes so quick, you don't even know whether you did good or not. But I came off stage and Skip was like, hey, you fucking did good. That's what I'm talking about.
He saw it and he knew you could.
Yeah. Oh, well, see, that's, he understood that, that bombing. And that's the thing about bombing.
You're going to do it. Yeah.
And you got to learn from it. But you got to get right back up there. You can't let the depression or whatever. See, but at the time, I didn't know I wanted to be a comedian. I wanted to be a comedian, but I didn't know what it took in order to be a comedian. So I wasn't ready to put in all of the work that it takes to do that until after then. And I was hooked. And I sat backstage, and because I did good, I'm getting a lot of love from people and women, and the OJ's up there singing, and I'm watching them because before then, I only had seen the OJs on album covers in my brother's room. My brother had albums of the OJs, the mighty OJs, and I always liked their music, even back then. But here I was with them. It was a phenomenal experience, and I got $250.
How long did that money last?
Shit, I think we spent half of it up before we got back to Houston.
That must have been a good night.
Yeah, because I had never really been to Austin before then either. My brother was going to college there. He was going to the University of Texas, but I hadn't visited him. Somebody knew in the car, because we went down on 6th Street, and man, we just had fun, man. We had fun. I was just tossing money around, buying food, and buying drinks, and that kind of deal. But
that's so cool.
I may have came back home with maybe $125, $130,
That's cool.
Just in a fun, but I was hooked. And then after then, my next deal was I went into college because, I was 17, 18 going into college, graduating from Ross Sterling Senior High School. And my next place I was going to was Sam Houston State University, because they had received a theater scholarship. Because, see, that's the whole point. See, I was in theater from the time I was in 6th grade all the way through high school. And I was always going to what they call speech tournaments, speech and drama tournaments, where, we do debate, and speech and acting and that kind of deal. So I wasn't new to performing. I was just new to stand-up. I'm up there by myself. And,
so you had history in the theater, but now you were the theater.
Yeah. Well, it's a world of difference.
Yeah, it is. It really is. You're on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. You really are. And it was, wow. So my next venture was to go to Sam Houston State University. Now I'm hyped because I went back to the comedy workshop and telling the guys, hey, I opened for the OJs and I killed. And I made $250. So now I'm a professional, I guess.
Yeah, you got paid. You're a professional.
Yeah, but still not to the comedy workshop. Not to Jared. They didn't give a damn.
No, they'll never care.
No, man.
I mean, today, you would probably still not care. Still not thinking.
It took 3 years after then for me to get a paid gig there, and I had gotten paid, but I was going off to school. So I went off to school. At Sam Houston State, and then I was in theater, so I wasn't really doing comedy, and I wasn't coming back home. But the comedy workshop had a comedy night at Sam Houston State. And for any student that wanted to do comedy, they will have a comedy competition. And if you won the comedy competition, you would win a paid spot at the comedy workshop. So I felt like I'm a shoo-in. I'm gonna do this. I already got paid. They knew me. I went up and I bombed again.
Oh, yeah. The confidence over confidence got you that time.
Bombed again. So I kind of just, I was like, maybe this is not meant for me. I don't know because it's just not. I keep bombing, and so went through the year of theater, and I'm a freshman, so I'm not really getting any love because I'm not getting on stage. I'm basically just doing crew work. That's what they do with freshmen. You get to do crew work and stuff like that. And so that summer, I'm scouring through the paper, trying to find, work and stuff. And I see this ad for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And I was so fascinated because I still was fascinated by theater. This is the #1 acting school in the world. They accepted 200 best actors from colleges around the world, and they were coming to Houston to audition. So, but you had to be a college graduate. So I called in line, said I was a college graduate, and
Well, I mean, you were going to be graduated soon enough,
Yeah,
right?
but
I mean,
3
like,
years.
I'm going to graduate, so it's just it's retroactively.
But here's how things happen. I remember this distinctly, and I always tell my kids this. I always show up early. My audition was at 11:30. My slot was from 11:30 to 11:40. That was my slot, and you're gonna audition in front of, the dean of, of the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. They had a school in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, and they had one in New York. But both deans would be there, and they'd audition, and you go on from there. I arrived at the guest quarters hotel on Westheimer is where it was at 8:35 or so. 11 o'clock. I don't know. I just went at 8:30.
What were you going to do for the rest of the day? You might as well.
Didn't know. I sat in the lobby, and then this very eccentric white guy comes down like a freaking hippie, and he immediately walks over to me. He says, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Alan Freeman. I'm here. I'm trying to audition for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts." He said, "My name is Bryn Morgan. I am the director of the Hollywood School. Well, since you're here, why don't you come and help me set up the room? Because they're going to do, the audition in the hotel room." So I went upstairs and with him, and we moved some stuff around, got the room set up, and he says, "What time is your audition?" I said, "It's 11:30. He says, "Well, since you're here, why don't you just go on and do your audition for me right now?"
Okay. And how did that go?
After I did my audition, he says, "Which one of the campuses you want to go to?"
Nice.
I said, Los Angeles. I just said Los
Very
Angeles.
cool.
I probably should have said New York because it's
Yeah.
it's theater. He says, "Good, because I'm the dean of Los Angeles. You're in."
Oh, cool. You said the right school then.
Yeah. Well, I think because I showed up early, and he put me on the spot. Can you audition now? I went and did it, and and so I took off to Los Angeles then. Left Sam Houston State, went to Hollywood. Got to Hollywood, and it was so restrictive, the American Academy was. They, I remember the first thing they told us, and I carry this, we're in an auditorium with 200 other kids from around the world. I mean, there were kids from London, kids, from France, from every state, every college. And we're sitting in there, and the director says, "Hey, listen, this is some information you need to know. I want you guys to know this. There's 200 of you guys in here. Only maybe about 50 of you will be here toward the end of the year. Only one of you will probably make it in this business. Let me tell you what making it is in this business. Making it in any form of entertainment is only reserved for the person who didn't have sense enough to quit when they should have.
Yeah, that checks.
And I took that to heart. But they also told us that we had to work hard, we had to concentrate. We couldn't do anything outside of the American Academy of Dramatic Arts as far as acting was concerned. So you're not going to any movie auditions, you're not going to any theater auditions. If we find out that you did or we detect, then you'll be kicked out of school because you consider yourself a professional and we can't teach you anything. So, okay, cool. But I met a guy there that was sitting not next to me, but the person over next to me, and he just kind of kept looking at me, and I thought it was weird, but it's theater, so it's weird. But after the audition or after the meeting, he and I we walked out together. His name was Paul Alexander. I haven't seen Paul in many years, but Paul was from San Francisco. Paul was a super cool Jewish hippie guy, if there is such a thing.
Oh, that'd be me.
And he and I made fast friends. He told me that he was a comedian, a professional comedian from San Francisco, that he worked a Punchline in San Francisco, which, come on, that at that time, Punchline was in San Francisco was equal to the Improv in New York City or the Comedy Store in Los Angeles. And I said, wow, man. He says, well, listen, I'm going out to the comedy clubs. I say, well, we can't do anything. He says, they said we can't act, but we can do comedy.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And so we plan, he and I talking every day after acting class. We go and eat together. We kind of hanging out together because I lived in Pasadena. He stayed in Altadena. So we would always hook up. And we kept planning, hey, man, we're going to go out. We're going to go out and do this. And then one of the other guys who was hanging with them, let me tell you, this is funny. One of our friends was a guy named Mike Noel, who was a Muslim brother, a black Muslim from the Malcolm X kind of cut. So here we got this guy from Sunnyside, Houston, Texas, this Jewish guy from San Francisco, and this Muslim brother from Sacramento.
Man,
now
you got the old trifecta.
Hey, listen, he was so cool. He drove a Lincoln Continental, and we kept telling him we're gonna go, to the comedy store. So we decided because the comedy store was famous because Richard Pryor was there, David Letterman, Jay Leno, all these people were there. So we're gonna go out and we do amateur night. That's what we kept saying it. Well, I remember one Tuesday after class, he said, hey guys, I'm taking you out to the comedy store. Just call us out. We're going to the comedy store. Okay. We're going to the comedy store. So we go to the comedy store and we go to the belly room. We sign up to be amateurs. We get there about 7:30. Fast forward to about 1:15. I get called. You're going up.
You've been there for what, 6 hours now?
Hours time. Laughing my ass off because watching regular comedians go, watching people who do this. This is Los Angeles. This
practice acts.
This is the Hollywood Comedy Store. I mean, when you walk in,
yeah, they were the who's who of comics.
And here's the thing. Remember, I said I had been at the comedy workshop. So they got this wall of fame where comedians get to write their name up on the wall.
Yeah,
it's a black wall, and I see Andy Huggins' name on the wall.
Yeah,
I see Bill Hicks' name on the wall. And so it's all kind of surreal to me. And I don't remember.
Is your name on that wall now?
No. When I went up, before I went up, I can't remember who the MC was, but I told him, hey, listen, I'm a student, and I'm doing acting. So I remember 2:something in the morning. He goes, all right, it's like 3 or 4 people in there. This next guy coming up, he's a student. and he's never done comedy before. And I go up, and I boom. I mean, the crickets are even booing me. It was horrible. And so when I came off stage after my 3 minutes or so, he goes, and ladies and gentlemen, you know the old adage from United Negro College Fund, you know, Lou Rawls used to say, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. That was my clothes. That's what he said about me in clothes.
Oh, damn.
And nobody said anything to me on the way home. Paul didn't say anything. He was scared. I mean, he was scared too, because Mike didn't say anything, and it went on like that for about 2 weeks. You know, we acted like it didn't happen. Now, remember, I'm living in Pasadena, California. I find out that the Ice House, the Pasadena Ice House, is maybe about 7 or 8 blocks down Colorado Boulevard from where I live, because I lived on Colorado Boulevard. The reason why Colorado Boulevard is so significant is because it's the street that the Rose Parade comes down. So around, toward the end of the year, like right about now, they're putting up bleachers along Colorado Boulevard because the Rose Parade is most widely, number one parade in the world next to the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. So I went down to the Ice House and signed up for open mic night, and thinking, well, I'm just give it a shot, and if I get booed, if I bomb, I'm out.
Was there a lot of time between that last mic and this mic?
Probably about 2 months or so.
So it took you 2 months again before you were able to try again?
Yeah.
I mean,
but it just wasn't no opportunities that I knew of.
So you just didn't know of open mics to go back to?
Didn't know,
I also wanted to ask, why was professional comedy not considered acting and performing, and the other ones were?
Well, I don't know.
Because you could have done like a community play, and they would have gotten upset that you you auditioned for that community play, but you could go up on an open mic, and that's not considered.
And here's the deal: they have this place called Regency West in Los Angeles. Now it is an eclectic African American community where they do black theater there, and I mean legendary actors, Cleveland Little, I can't think of my man from Kool-Aid High. All these actors, that's where they work at. And I just visited there with a friend of mine who was working for Barry Levinston at the time. Barry Levinston was a great TV producer at the time. A friend of mine from Houston, he's actually my brother's friend because he's a little bit older than me, but he was working. So he took me by there. And I just went to see a play. But when I came back to school, Brent Morgan said, "Hey, I heard you at Regency West. How did it go?" I went, "I didn't do anything." He goes, "I know." So I don't know whether they knew or not, whether we were doing stand-up. But they never said anything.
They probably didn't care.
Yeah, probably. But I went up there, and I did okay. Didn't bomb. Didn't really get a lot of laughs. But the artistic director told me, "Hey, you need to keep coming back." So, I went back, and went up. Nothing significant happened. Went back to the Comedy Store, couldn't get back up, but nothing significant happened. So that summer I went home, for a break, and, started going to the jazz clubs, because by this time I feel like I'm a professional. I was counting the Comedy Store as a credit. I was counting the Pasadena Ice House as a credit. I worked in Los Angeles. I mean, I feel like I'm better than half of the guys who had never been out of Houston.
Yeah, there's probably still haven't been out of Houston.
Probably, and so I came back and, like I say, every day while I was there, I was going, and I was waiting to hear back from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, because you have to be invited back. You have to have done so well in your classes that you had to be invited back.
And so you weren't guaranteed your spot the next year.
Well, I kind of figured I wasn't, because I had a couple of fights with students, just being a total asshole I was. and but I didn't get invited back. But my scholarship was still good at Sam Houston State.
Oh, cool. So you went back to Sam Houston then?
Went back to Sam Houston, and started doing comedy on campus. Became a radio DJ doing comedy on on the radio. Just getting better. And besides that, Skipper Lee Frazier was also, when I came back home, was giving me work at the JB's Entertainment Center. JB's Entertainment Center is now where the Shipley's Donuts is on Scott Street, right across from TDCU Stadium. It was Jefferson Stadium at the time, but JB's Entertainment Center was the #1 spot in Houston for live entertainment. And so I was opening up for Millie Jackson, for Betty Wright, for the Dramatics, LTD. So I was opening up for all of these acts for Skipper Lee Frazier for nothing. He wasn't giving me shit then. He just let me go up and get the station. But I was getting better, man. I was getting brave. I was getting, because I think the difference was I was opening up for musical acts in front of all adult, older crowds. So my approach to comedy had to be different. But somehow I just kept getting better. And then the comedy workshop, they kept accepting me and kept going up. And then I finally made regular at the comedy workshop, because you had to go from amateur to regular, which meant that you could sign up for a regular spot. And I made regular.
Do you think going to LA kind of stunted your career a little bit because you got so much stage time here in Houston? Working with Skipper Lee.
Yeah, well, it's about the work. I believe it did. There was one or two things to do. It was either stay in LA, even though I didn't get invited back, fucking stay in LA and grind it out, or come back to Houston. But I came back because, number one, I didn't have a job. I was a student. I couldn't keep up the apartment rent. And it was safer at home.
You had that scholarship,
and I had
too.
the scholarship.
That makes the most sense.
Yeah. All of it played into me, becoming who I have so far. And but making regular at the comedy workshop was the thing. That was a big time. And then I moved I moved out of my parents' house. And so a couple of years later, I'm away from Sam Houston State. Now I'm in Houston trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I move away from my parents' house. I just riding a bus downtown, because that was the thing, riding a bus everywhere. I rode the bus downtown, and somehow I stumbled up on the Houston House Apartments, which is the high-rise apartment in downtown Houston. Don't know what made me go in there, but I went in there. And I spoke to the leasing agent and said, I want an apartment. I don't have a job. I ain't got no money, but I want an apartment. She just liked me. I guess she just liked me. So she took me on a tour around the apartment, took me on the ninth floor. The ninth floor had a nightclub in it.
It was a nightclub inside the
apartments?
apartments?
It was a nightclub inside on the ninth floor of this high-rise apartment.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so I got an apartment there. She gave me an apartment. But the only thing she had was a 2-bedroom. And the 2-bedroom was $750 a month. Like, remember, I ain't got no money. I don't know nothing. So I called my friend. I called one of my best friends, Russell Andrews, a very talented actor, very, working actor now in Los Angeles. Hey, man, at the time, he was here in Houston. I think he was going to Texas Southern, whatever. Wanted to be an actor, working at the Ensemble Theater, all that kind of stuff. So we got an apartment together. And so it's funny. So now I got an apartment, got a high-rise apartment, staying downtown. There's a nightclub in there, and I'm going back to the comedy workshops. I feel like I'm growing up. I find out that Bill Hicks is living in the Houston House Apartments with a roommate named Jack Wilkes. His name is Mark Wilkes at the time, but it's Jack Wilkes. If he's watching, he's going to see this. Jack Wilkes. The floor below them, Andy Huggins and Jimmy Pineapple are
Everyone
standing
was in this apartment.
Well, just us, but it was just funny. It's comedians that are in that apartment. And somehow we ended up taking advantage of the nightclub, of going up at the nightclub. I mean, it's just so freaking surreal. It's like I'm supposed to be doing this. Because so as a result of that, Hicks and I became friends. You know, Jimmy and I became friends. You know, really good. And not that we weren't friends then, but I think we just, you know, they started letting me hang around. You know, that kind of deal. And then I started getting road work. And man, I remember my first gig.
What was that first gig?
It was Killeen, Texas, with Nat Perkins and Bob Rogers, and I was the opener, and man, I made $150 for the weekend. I never looked back. I mean, it was crazy, and none of us did well. None of us did well, but I started getting work, and then I heard about this guy named Brad Greenberg out of North Carolina who was just booking. It's like, oh, he's booking anybody. It was called Creative Entertainment, but they had about 40 weeks of work. I just kept calling, trying to get some work, and finally Jeff Chester, who was the feature booking act then, said, "Hey man, fucking calling here all the time. Listen, I got a gig in Jacksonville, Florida, an opener. You make $350 and you get a hotel room, but you got to get yourself there." I said, "Yes, okay, of course I'll go." I jumped on a Greyhound bus and went to Jacksonville. By the time I got to Jacksonville, he said, "Hey, listen, I got one in Orlando. I got one in Cocoa Beach."
Now you're on tour.
Yeah, I got one. Then you're going to go to Hilton Head. Then you're going to go to Knoxville. So I was out maybe about 9 weeks working with professional road comics, bumming my way around, getting rides with them, riding the Greyhound bus around, staying in hotels. And see, at the time, comedy was only Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we were off. So in between the off days, I connected with a comedian named Lester Bibb, who I worked with him on one of the gigs. He had a car. He had a Cadillac. So he said, "Hey man, just hang out with me in between gigs." And he was a big time, I guess, because he's a headliner. You know, he called Jeff Chester and said, "Hey, I want Al to work with me." So I ended up working with him on all the gigs. So on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, this dude was such a hustler that he would find whatever nightclubs that was in Orlando or whatever city we were in, and we would go to those nightclubs. Somehow he would talk to the manager. They would let us go up. They stopped the music. We got some comedians that want to go up. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he found the club. We would go up at those clubs. He would pay me $50, or so I'm sure he's probably getting $400 or $500. I don't know what he was getting, but he was giving me the $50. But we were working every night, and that happened. And man, I remember by the time I came home after that first run, and I had a really good friend of mine named Deidre Ward. She was like working at KTSU Radio. She's since passed on, but she's an amazing girl, you know, amazing actress, you know, and she was doing an event for the radio station, and she said, "Hey, I want you to come up and do some time, the radio station, you know, for this event." And I went there, and when I went on stage, man, I was so cold, I was so hot. I mean, I knew all of the taglines, I knew the stock jokes, I knew how to handle the audience, I knew how to handle the hecklers, and I was just fucking killing. And you know, it's the best time of my life, because I was a professional comedian. I never did anything else. You know, of course, my parents were like concerned, like, "What, are you gonna be a comedian? How are you gonna live? How are you gonna make money? How are you gonna pay for this rent? You know, they were kind of helping me out too sometimes."
Yeah.
But it just happened, man. Things just happen, and because I was in the mix, things happen. And then eventually, like I said, I booked my own comedy show at Club Oz, and Club Oz was I did the actual first urban comedy night that was considered all, was all African American, lineup, with the one exception. There was one white guy on that show with me at Club Oz, and that was T-Shawn Shannon. Because T-Shawn was so fucking cold. T-Shawn could do black rooms, white rooms. It didn't matter. He and Hicks were like that. They could do whatever. And T-Shawn did that show with us. And so, like I said, on beta tape, remember I did it on beta. I sent the beta tape to a guy because as I started doing comedy, as people started to realize that I was a black comedian, like the director George Hawkins at the Ensemble Theater, started giving me opportunities to do work. And and then about this time, let me see, I have to tell you when it was. Robert Townsend.
Oh man, he was my favorite. I miss Robert Townsend. He did the first superhero movie.
Well, more than that, he did. What year did Hollywood Shuffle debut? Okay, 87. Okay,
87.
The Ensemble Theater is going to host Robert Townsend because he's got this movie called Hollywood Shuffle that he's self-promoting. So of course he's going to come to the one black theater in Houston.
Yeah. Where else?
Where else?
Where else?
George Hawkins said, "Hey Al, we got a comedian named Robert Townsend coming in. He's hosted this movie. I want you to come here and I want you to host him because he wants to go someplace. Can you get your mother's car?" Because my mother had a little Mustang then. "And can you drive him around?" Okay, cool. I do it. And Robert and I hooked up. Robert Townsend and I hooked up. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything about the movie. I just know he was doing a movie.
Wow.
And he was and so he and I were riding around and he was, I'm a comedian. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing? I told him what I was working at around here, and he told me, he said, "Well, you know what? There's this comedy competition in Oakland called the Bay Area Comedy Competition. You should check them out because it's a black showcase, and all the top, not the top comedians, all the comedians from Los Angeles. That's where they go because number one, they pay $2,500 for the grand prize, and you get seen by all these Hollywood people. He said, I'm telling you, that'll be the great place to go. But that's all they told me. And so I didn't know how to sign up or anything, but I knew I wanted to go. So the last club we went to was the Renaissance Hotel, which is next to Lakewood Church. Used to be the Summit, Renaissance, because there was a jazz night in there, and so Robert wanted to go to the jazz night to promote, and Randall Glover was the manager there, and so Randall told me. At the time, he says, "Yeah, I seen you around town. Let me tell you something. You should get in. What kind of car you drive?" I said, "Well, I have my mother's car, but I'm gonna get me a car." He said, "Well, when you get the car, you need to get in it, fill it up with gas, get in it, and drive to Los Angeles, and don't come back." So he told me. And I was like, "Oh shit, I was too, I've been to Los Angeles. I got beaten up. I knew he was right, but I don't know if I was doing so good now because I was getting road work. I was working at the Comedy Workshop. They've been accepted by them. It was like, and then the Comedy Workshop was hosting, like I said, all the top comedians were coming by the workshop to work out. Barry Sobel at the time was good, Jay Leno, what's my man? God, I can't think of his name. Redhead comedian. All these comedians who worked
at the Carrot Top guy.
No, they wasn't Carrot Top, but Carrot Top was one of the guys though. Carrot Top was a top guy because he was working for Creative Entertainment. He was Creative Entertainment's top guy. He was the number one headliner working that creative tour, that 40-week tour all the time. You used to see him out on the road all the time. James Gregory, all of these, man, all these great comedians were working, so I was meeting a lot of guys. I just didn't feel like Los Angeles. I was like, I got Los Angeles here, but I'm gonna go to that comedy competition. So this is how I found out about the comedy competition, because all I knew is that it was in Oakland and that Michelob Dark was sponsoring the competition. So I called the Budweiser distributor in San Francisco to try to find out information about the comedy competition. Since Michelob was sponsoring, and Michelob was one of the
was a brand of Bud.
Yeah. And so they sent me to a guy. I guess he was a liquor rep. He called me back and he told me, "Oh yeah, I know about that. I'm the guy that's doing this here. This is who you need to do. You need to call Marcus King. Marcus King is one of the guys of the Bay Area it's Bay Area Productions. He's one of the principal guys." So Marcus and I got hooked up. We talked for about an hour on the phone, and I sent him that beta tape as my audition tape. He put me in a competition, and that year that I went there is the year that Mark Curry won. Everybody knows Mark Curry did hang with Mr. Cooper. Is on tour now with Cat Williams, one of the funniest guys in the country, without a doubt. I mean, and anybody will tell you Mark Curry's a real deal. He's on tour with Cat, so he's cold-blooded. And Jamie Foxx was in that competition. A.J. Johnson's in that competition. Ricky Harris is in that competition. Lou Nell was in that competition. This was, and these are all great, famous comedians right now. But at the time, the Cat Williams was in that competition at the time, but his name was Cat in the Hat. But that's how huge the Bay Area comedy competition was. I didn't even make it out the first round, but I was in then.
You were on that stage, man. That's what matters.
Well, and then I was become compadres of Los Angeles comedians, Hollywood comedians, and whatnot. Man, it was phenomenal. And Marcus King and I are still really good friends. And Marcus King, his client list was Mark Curry, Jamie Foxx, Wanda White, Richard Trask, Andre Covington. Just to say, it was Jamie Foxx. And Jamie Foxx ended up getting a television show, ended up getting, Oscars. Mark Curry ended up getting a television show. And Marcus King told me at the time, he said, "Hey man, after you leave Oakland, you don't need to go back to Houston. You need to go to Los Angeles. Go and hang out. You just need to get in rotation, get in line. Go pay your dues. That's what you need to do." But I went back to Houston because I was comfortable, and he and I talk about it all the time. He said, "Hey man, I chose you. I picked you. I would have been on his roster with Mark Curry and it's and here's the deal: they weren't actors.
No, they were comics. They were comedy actors. Afterwards, they were comedy actors.
I was an actor, which is why he said.
Oh yeah, so you were meant for it. He wanted you. Yeah.
Yeah, man, and
it's just life, though. You don't know where it's going to go.
You don't know.
You just don't know where it's going to go. Like, when to be comfortable, when to stay in, when to go out.
But you got to have a pair of balls, though. You got to take the risk. You got to throw it out there. But at any rate, it's okay because I was still jamming. I was still nutsy because I was traveling around the state of Texas, going to Austin, going to San Antonio. I ended up at a club in San Antonio. I can't remember Rick's last name, but Rick was the most shyster guy I ever met in my life, but he liked me. He just liked me for some reason. So he would give me a hotel room and $300 to come and host his San Antonio room. And I was just doing it over and over. He told me one week, and I became such regulars at the hotel in San Antonio. I was like a regular, but these were some, like I say, Rick was a shyster guy. Rick was working indirectly for Red McCombs. Red McCombs owned everything in San Antonio. All the car dealerships was I guess a board of regent guy for the University of Texas because of where he went. But so I was like, man, we're getting connected, man. I'm on the stage all the time in San Antonio. He tells me that he's got these two guys coming through that want to showcase. These two black guys coming through want to showcase. And it was Cedric the Entertainer. And he came through and did a showcase. Rick didn't like him. But, you know, I didn't know at the time. But I just, man, I was making all these freaking connections that would prove to be beneficial later. Went from there to becoming a regular in Houston with Marty Schilling with the Good Humor Bar. Danny Martinez opened up the Comedy Showcase, you know, and you know Danny Martinez Comedy Showcase was equal to the Comedy Workshop because he developed Ralphie May, he developed, you know, Theo Vidal, you know, he developed Craig Bush, he developed some of the top, you know, comics from Houston, and everybody, and because it was a weekend club, everybody was running through his club too. You know, everything was just kicking for me as far as stand up was concerned, but I was drifting farther away from acting, you know, but still, you know, primarily just doing the stand up, man. And from there I started getting more work. Then I started working for Bob Shoemaker. Bob Shoemaker was the tour out of Florida. You would go from Pensacola to Dustin to Jacksonville to Orlando to Cocoa Beach to you know Fort Lauderdale to Kissimmee. As a matter of fact, he used to do all of the spring training spots in Florida. Wherever there was a spring, you know, MLB spring training, that's what we did. So you could go to Florida and stay 3 months before coming on. He went all the way down to Key West, Florida, into the Cayman Islands and the Bahamas. That's what his gigs. And I became a favorite of his. And so I was working all of these gigs. So I was a professional comedian. I was working. And at that time, they had bumped me up to about $600 a week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But, you know, like I said, I'm working with Lester. So I'm making maybe another $150 or so on the off days. And, you know, once that gets in your blood, man, you know, it's no turning around. It wasn't nothing like it. I mean,
once you have a successful act, it's so hard to stop it.
It was successful for me because I was making money at comedy. I was doing mostly resort places. It was like a paid vacation almost. I mean, I'm doing the Cayman Islands. And when you went to the Cayman Islands, you did the bid for 2 weeks. They fly you over there and you stay 2 weekends, the whole week. So you worked mostly the weekend. But you'd be off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday until the next weekend. But you had the hotel room. And there were 5 or 6 restaurants on the island who fed us. I mean, you see what I'm saying? It was nothing like that time in my life that I was kicking it, man. And then I was coming home. I had more confidence. Now I was getting all of the concerts at Rockefellers. You know, Rockefellers, you know, was the number one spot for all R&B. Now, mind you, this is all the way up going up to about 92 or 93. And, you know, through all those years. So from about 87 till about 95, I was just constantly gigging, constantly working.
You were a touring act then?
Yes. Touring feature.
Touring feature act.
Touring feature act, yeah, man. And
was that like 15 minutes?
30 minutes.
30 minutes feature.
Yeah.
Okay.
30 minutes. But, you know, you on the road, you know, about 15, 20 minutes of it is material. The other 10 minutes is just kind of working off the cuff. Because when you ever get in a new city, you know, my deal is when you get to a new city, you get whatever newspaper it is, you read the newspaper, so you can be topical, so you can kind of work off the cuff, you get the audience. Because if the audience feels that you know something about them, I'm going to Jacksonville, I know something about Jackson politics, I know something about something that's happening in Jacksonville, you know, you get the audience on your side, that's good for about 5 or 10 minutes, you know, of just rolling. I love comedy, man. You know, and like I said, by that time, it was in my blood. There was nothing else I could do because there's nothing else as phenomenal as making a crowd laugh.
And you're making good money.
And yeah, you know, I wasn't making the Hollywood money, but again,
Very few people ever do.
It's what's funny. So about 94, 95, 96, I feel like, okay, I'm ready for Hollywood now. Because I'm a working professional. And I'm working with some of these guys from Los Angeles. So I called Marcus King. I said, I'm ready to come to Los Angeles. He said, hey, man, don't come here. Because all you're going to do is be a fucking bomb. Just like all these other bombs. That's all they are. They bombs, you know. And he met the regular comedians who going up every night at the Comedy Store, the comedy, you know, the improv, whatever. But they're not making any money because you don't make money in Los Angeles. You get to showcase.
You missed your time.
Well, even then, yeah, I missed my time by not following Robert Townsend.
Yeah.
When he told me, hey, you need to come there. Because I knew somebody.
Yeah, he would have thrown you in.
You got to know somebody. See, that's the thing. I knew Marcus King. So at the time, I should have went there when he said come there, when he was developing Jamie, you know, and all that. But, so, come back, and my friend, I mentioned Rushion McDonald. Rushion McDonald was the top African-American comedian at the Comedy Workshop. As a matter of fact, he was the one that's getting all the work. You know, brilliant guy, had degreed in mathematics from University of Houston, had a job with IBM, so he was big time. He left that job to become a comedian, and so we became good friends. So he's kind of, you know, mentoring me. He becomes good friends with Ricky Anderson. Ricky Anderson is the top entertainment attorney from Houston in the United States. He represents Steve Harvey, Monique, Isaiah Washington, the Grammys. This dude is huge. But he and Rushion and Steve Harvey are frat brothers. So they kind of traveling around doing comedy. This is before Steve became famous.
Before the teeth?
Yeah, before the teeth, before the hair.
Yeah.
And when he was wearing sweaters and shit. When it was so cold-blooded, they used to ride in Ricky's BMW to the
was Steve living in his car like he said he was?
I don't know, because he just came to Houston. I don't know what he was doing in Dallas. I know he was in Dallas, you know. But Steve was a dog. Steve was a hustler.
Okay.
I mean, you know, so yeah, I'm sure. But Rushion and Steve and Rick used to ride around in Rick's BMW. He had a 318, which meant that it's two doors. But they used to ride around in their car, and only Rick's passenger side window didn't go down.
What?
I'm telling you, this is the beginning. So
you imagine these guys with cars like that still?
Rushion took off to New York. He and T-Shawn Shannon became roommates in New York City. So here I am, mentor gone. You know, I'm just kind of, you know, I'm still working. I'm still considered one of the top guys because now I can get work at the Comedy Workshop and the Comedy Showcase and at the Good Humor Bar. You know, because in Houston, there was probably like maybe 6 working clubs. I was getting all the work, but it was time. It's time to move. Well, Rushion went to New York, and then he stayed a little while in New York, went to Los Angeles. Came back from Los Angeles, came back to Houston, opened up the Hip Hop Comedy Stop. He and Steve Harvey and J. Anthony Brown opened up this club because they had connected with J. Anthony in Los Angeles, and J. Anthony had a club in Los Angeles. And then things really start to turn around now because now Rushion is bringing in Cedric the Entertainer. He's bringing in you know, Eddie Griffin. He's bringing in T.K. Kirkland. He's bringing in, you know, all of these. Every famous comedian who is famous right now came through. Every urban comedian came through the Hip Hop Comedy Stop. But because Rushion and I had been established and friends, and I was a working comedian, you know, I got preference there. And
really cool.
So I remember the day, like it was yesterday. I'm at the club, kind of hanging out, you know, with the other comedians, and all the comedians who are here now. You know, Dave Lawson, Terry Gross, all of the top urban comedians now. We kind of hanging out in the green room. And Rashawn said, "Hey man, come here. I need you to do something." Okay, cool. He takes me into his office, and Steve Harvey's in there. He said, "Steve Harvey just got a television show, and I just want to, introduce you to him." Okay, met him, kind of like this, but nothing happened. He went to do that first show, Me and the Boys. Didn't do well, but he ended up getting another television show. Long story short, when Steve got another show, a variety show called Big Time. Now this may be, I don't know, we're getting close to 1998, 99, somewhere like this. But he got he was going to, no, I'm sorry, it's like 2000. He had a radio show. But they were coming back and forth to Los Angeles. But I was making friends, with them. 2002, 2003, he got the television show, Big Time, and they asked me to come on as a producer, a research producer, which meant talent producer. I was going out finding talent for the television show, and that meant I had to move to Los Angeles, and that's when I moved to Los Angeles because I had a job.
A paying job.
A paying job from the WB.
From the WB, man. What was that show that Steve Harvey was working?
It was called Steve Harvey's Big Time.
I remember Steve Harvey's Big Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, and but now I'm well established, man. I'm, I am a father.
Oh, nice. How old is the kid?
Got married. They were 2 and 1. My girls now, they're 2 and 1.
Oh man, so they're still small.
Here's the deal. I'm married to this chick who's beautiful, fine actress, who I met at a movie audition. Matter of fact, Black Prince and I talk about this. It's ill to the day that everybody was like trying to really get to know her because she was from Florida and she was, she's just so beautiful. And so the guys and I, we standing around, everybody's talking about Arnett. Hey, she's fine, but nobody can talk to her. I say, please, I'm going to marry her. And Black Prince say, no, I said, I bet you $100 I'm going to marry her. He goes, okay, bet.
Did he pay out?
So, but she and I got married, and we had our first kids. But at the time, she was just graduated from Texas Southern University, and she was going into the master's program when I got the job with Steve. And she had just got accepted into the
So the
master's
kiddos
program.
were 1 and 2 when you were out in LA.
Out in LA, as a matter of fact, my wife's best friend, boyfriend, worked for Continental Airlines. It was Continental. And he said, hey, man, I'll put you on my family list so you can go. That way you don't have to pay for flights because they wasn't paying for travel. But I was going to live there. But this is how it worked out. Because I had that, I would work Monday through Thursday at this, with Steve, with the television show. Friday morning, I would get up and come back to Houston because I had the family thing. I would just have to, as a matter of fact, you know how they have the waiting list? Like you can sign up if you somehow you want a free flight, you can kind of wait to see whether they call you. They maybe call 6 or 7 people. But because I was family, I was always getting a call. So I was coming back home every Friday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with the family. And I go back on the red eye Monday morning with Rushion McDonald, because Rushion McDonald also lived here. He had a wife here. His wife was an optometrist. His daughter was here. So we would go back, all the time. And that's how, I was, I was living a life there. But just kind of working, man, kind of doing my thing in Los Angeles. And then it came back up for contract negotiations for the next year. You got to renegotiate your contract. They didn't offer me a contract.
Oh, they didn't offer you producer anymore. They didn't want you to find talent. What do they do for talent from then on?
Well, they hired someone else. But, and listen, I'll tell the story. People tell the story all the time. There was some controversy. I was, being black, and arrogant and mean, and you know,
That's going to lead into one of the questions I want to ask you. Yeah, but yeah.
well, I told the suits when I remember they came in one because we would have producers meetings with
Okay.
executive producer Madeline Smithberg, and with the suits, the guys who ran everything.
Yeah,
And
the TV people.
And I remember they asked us. They said, well, the executive producer Madeline Smithberg. I don't know if I was set up or not. But mind you, now I was we working in Glendale, we working in the studio office. We all got our little office. In my office, I'm always, I always got Marvin Gaye blasting from my office, Curtis Mayfield. I was burning incense. I was just
You were being a nuisance.
just being a total asshole. But I remember when they asked us in the producers meeting, they said, well, Madeline did. She said, we don't know why we can't get the numbers up. We've dropped 12%.
Oh man.
In black households. Can anyone tell us why? I didn't know it was a rhetorical question I wasn't supposed to answer.
Oh no.
So I raised my hand and I said, well, it's because we don't have enough black guests on here. Black people buy Steve, not white people.
Yeah. True enough. Yeah.
But they didn't like that answer.
I imagine why the TV people wouldn't like that answer.
But they said, okay, you bring some black people. They're Freeman. That's all they need to say. I went and found black talent. I went and found some interesting black talent who they ended up putting on the show, because when you pitch as a producer, you pitch your show ideas, and they go either blue card it, which means it's going on the show. They go green card it, which means it's a possibility in case one of the blue cards work. They go yellow card it, which means they don't really like it, but they gonna keep it just in case. I stopped going from being yellow carded to being blue carded, and hey man, listen, I by that time I'm really getting to be an asshole.
Yeah, because now your ego's up because you're blue card.
Ego's up, and also because Steve was not really showing up to the studio except when we were filming, and I don't know.
He wasn't there for the production meetings.
No, and they wanted him there. Every now and then he would come.
Right.
And they would talk shit about him. They would like, blah blah, and I would tell him. So I don't, I was just being, what do you call it? A malcontent.
Okay.
I believe that's why I didn't, get the call back. But what did happen was my friend I told you about, the guy Russell Andrews, had moved out to Los Angeles, and he was working for this guy named Claude Purdy, who was a director from Pittsburgh, who was good friends with August Wilson. August Wilson is the legendary playwright who wrote Two Trains Running, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. This is the guy. They call him, hey, he is the Tennessee Williams of the modern day century, because he wrote urban plays that featured Denzel Washington, Courtney B. Vance, Angela Bassett. They would house his plays at Yale School of Drama. He was legendary. But he got the rights to do Ma Rainey's Black Bottom in Los Angeles. So instead of going back home, I decided I'm gonna produce a play with him. We produced the number one 99-seat theater play at the Lillian Theater in Hollywood for 9 weeks, 9 sold out weeks. Now, granted, we had Loretta Devine in that play, and James Avery from Uncle Phil from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And so that kind of put me back in the driver's seat as a producer, because now I'm friends with Loretta Devine. Now I'm friends with James Avery, and everybody comes to see that play. If you look on my page and you see the picture of me with Denzel Washington and Angela Bassett,
It was from that play.
it was from that play. So, I mean, this is phenomenal now, man. Man, I'm rocking and rolling because now I'm a legitimate producer. I have produced an award-winning theatrical production with Loretta Devine and with James Avery. Um, so when I did come back, well, by the time I come back home, of course, my marriage is in.
Kind of left that a little bit shaky, huh?
Well, we were on the road to divorce, and
Oh man, I'm sorry.
well, you know, it was it was terrible because my household was in disarray because my wife was here with two babies. She's trying to go to school, and on top of it, she's pregnant again with twins.
Oh dang, that's a lot of babies for one person. That's a lot of babies for one person.
So I'm staying home, and I get a job on this television show, this Fox television show called Equal Justice. It was one of those judge shows with Judge Alex Ferrer. So, but I'm back home supporting the family, helping out. I got the kids, but it was a foregone conclusion. It was dead, man. And
I'm sorry, man.
well, it gets even funnier. But I'm also doing well in comedy at the Laugh Stop with Mark Babbitt. Now, I'm opening up for every black act that comes to the Laugh Stop, which meant that I'm opening up for, for Dave Chappelle, for Tony Rock, for T.K. Kirkland, for Earthquake, for everyone that Wanda Sykes. So that part is going good, but the personal life is not going good. We end up getting divorced, going through a custody battle. I end up with sole custody of the kids.
How many babies was that?
4.
4 babies.
Yeah.
You had the twins and then the other ones.
3 years old, 2 years, no, 4 years old, 3 years old, and the twins were, a few months. And I had custody and raised them by myself, which is, I took a break almost, it seems like. I think I was still working, I was still doing local comedy, but from the time they were 2 up until recently, because my oldest daughter just graduated from University of Houston.
Yeah, I saw you post about that. Congrats, man. That's huge.
May before last May, well, not last May. That May prior to then. My youngest daughter graduated from University of Texas. Now she's at University of Denver Law School. My son is at University of Houston downtown.
And he's the one that plays baseball.
He plays baseball. He's getting ready to go to law school. And my middle daughter's at Texas Southern University. She's going to graduate in child development. So, but I took out that time. I raised kids and I did local comedy, and my promise to myself was, when I got custody of the kids, I'm gonna raise the kids, give them all my time. I'm gonna step back from comedy, from acting for a bit, because I can't go on the road.
No,
because I got kids. So for 20 years, I didn't go on the road.
So what did you do during the 20-year time?
I worked as a political consultant for State Rep Ron Wilson. I became a executive security, got my security license. I worked for CSC, Contemporary Service Corporation, as a security guard, doing executive security for the Houston Texans and anything at NRG.
So you're still media related, but you just
media related. Listen,
other career paths.
And then when I went in for that job, they immediately put me in the executive suites. So now, I think it was 2007 or so now, 2007, when the Super Bowl came to Houston, I was the security concierge for Robert Kraft. Because remember, the Patriots played the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl. So I'm making people. Matter of fact, it's just funny. What's Wahlberg? What's Wahlberg? The guy who plays on what's it? Blue, PD Blue. The one with Tom Hanks. I mean, no, with Tom Selleck. The what is it called? It's
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg. What,
Yeah. Okay. I got one.
but who plays Danny on the show? It's called Blue something Blue. Wow. Hold on. Let me,
Oh, I don't watch the crime drama, so I don't know.
okay. Well, hold on.
We'll find it though. That's what the internet's for.
Yeah. Tom Selleck. PD Blue. I'm seeing. It'll tell me right here. And commission. Oh, Blue Bloods.
Ah, Blue Bloods. Okay.
So,
I haven't watched any of it, but I've heard the show.
but you know they are diehard Patriots fans.
Really?
Yeah, they're from Boston.
Oh, I guess.
So,
But that doesn't mean that you're going to like football just because you're from a city.
well, but the Patriots at the time were
They were a dynasty team. Yeah.
dynasty.
Yeah.
And so imagine who's in his suite, because the Super Bowl is at NRG Stadium. So he has McNair suite. He has a presidential suite, and so he's got Wahlberg in there. And now remember, the Atlanta Falcons they were up by 28 points on the Patriots. So about in the third quarter, it's looking bad for the Patriots. Wahlberg says to me, he says, "Hey, listen, we're gonna get ready to leave. Can you walk us down to our limo? Because that was my job."
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough request.
So he and his wife and kids, and we have to ride down the elevator down to the service level that walks around the stadium, around the locker rooms and whatnot. But because of where Robert Suite is on the opposite side of the stadium, it's on the Kirby side of the stadium. We have to walk over to the other side of the stadium where the parking lot is. So we walk around the stadium, going to the north dock, which is where they go out, where the players park at, which is where all the limos and stuff were at. Now, on the way, his wife is saying, "No, we shouldn't leave. Why are we leaving? They're going to, no, with the Patriots, they're going to come back." He said, "No, they're not coming back. I'm telling you, it's over with."
So they're fighting. They're fighting about the game because it's third quarter and their team's down.
but it's a Super Bowl, so we got to go through all these checkpoints. So it takes us about 10 minutes, to get to the limo. We get to the limo. He open up the limo. He says, "Man, I don't have any cash," but he gives me the Patriots Super Bowl hat. But I don't want this.
He just rips the hat off his head.
Yeah, and gives it to me.
That's great. He's so upset. He's like, "I want this hat."
You get it. And I'm getting in the limo. The driver says, "I can't fucking believe this. What? The Patriots have come back." Because remember, they made that dramatic.
Yeah, the drive.
That he's like, "Oh."
Did he ask for the hat back?
No.
I need the hat. My team's winning.
he got in the limo and left. But so I'm I'm in media. I'm in entertainment, and because I don't know, man. I feel like I'm charmed or something. But the principals or the general managers of CSC just like me, so they started assigning me to all the executive stuff. Like I remember when Shark Tank came in and Damon Johns came in to do a speech at the convention center. I was the guy. I'm the guy that got called. So I took him around. And at the end of the after we toured, he said, "Hey man, you know what? You did good. Once again, don't have no cash." But he gave me his presidential medal for business that that the president had given him as, hey, you guess here, and that's what he gave me as.
He gave you something that Obama gave him?
He gave me the presidential coin that Obama gave him for being a great business person.
And he was like, Obama, this shit ain't worth nothing. I'm like,
You know what? He just told me, he said, hey, man, hey, man, I appreciate you. Man, you're a special guy, man. You keep grinding. You're going to do well. Because I told him, I'm talking to him about, hey, I'm doing stand-up.
Yeah.
You know, and all this. But, I had to leave for 20 years because I had to raise my kids. He just felt like that was just so noble.
Who else is doing that, man?
Yeah, he's like, man, you walked away. I said, yeah, man. I still work, but... and then I did that, as I do now for Andy Frame. So now I do executive, sports security, for University of Houston sports, TSU sports, the Rockets, the Houston Astros, and all that. And I'm always in the suites. Or if you watch University of Houston games, you'll see me sitting on the floor, on the corner, because I was assigned student section, and I'm the guy that sat behind Tillman Fertitta and Howard Lorch. If you watch U of H games, you'll see Howard Lorch and Elvin Hayes field. Howard Lorch.
And you're just in the background chilling.
But Howard Lorch, Howard, and like I said, his name is on the court. Howard Lorch. Howard Lorch is one of the richest investment bankers in the country. Lives right down the street from Fertitta in River Oaks. He's like president of the River Oaks Country Club.
Okay.
He hires me for private parties with River Oaks Country Club, because this is the other part that I should go back and left this out. At one point, I wanted to be a stockbroker.
Oh, okay.
So while I was working for the Comedy Workshop, still have a job, I was a prospector for Shearson, Lehman, Hutton American Express, which meant that I was the guy calling prospective clients for stockbrokers to see whether they wanted to invest $10,000 or so in any particular stock. That was just cold calling. They give me a whole bunch of numbers. You call them, you get them on the line for me. You get them on the line, I'm going to close the deal. That's what I did for Howard. Howard and I got to be really good friends. Howard and then, once again, just cooling. I was doing stand-up. Everybody thought that was so cool, on the house. Hey, he's doing stand-up, and all this. But Howard and I became good friends because Howard was the ball boy at University of Houston basketball in 1968. That he was there the year that Elvin Hayes came to University of Houston to play basketball. And because at that time they wasn't letting black students stay on the campus of University of Houston, they paired him with Howard Lorch. Because they weren't just like, hey man, we're trying to be politically correct. So we're going to put him with this white guy, Howard Lorch, basketball manager. Jewish basketball manager Howard Lorch. Howard and I became friends because when I was working for him, Clyde Drexler was one of his clients.
That's so cool.
Clyde came into the office one day and goes, "Whoa, Al, what's up? Yeah, blah, blah, blah." Because you know each other? Yeah, we was in third grade together. We went to junior high school together. As a matter of fact, I'm the guy that gave Clyde the name to Clyde. What? Yeah, because he played high school basketball at Ross Sterling Senior High School.
That's crazy.
In JZ tournament, at the JC's tournament, it was just phenomenal basketball game. He scored 37 points, maybe grabbed 35 rebounds, had like 18 assists, maybe 10 steals, and maybe 12 blocks. It was just phenomenal. And me being halftime announcer, because I'm in the theater department, I just said Clyde Drexler. So that's how we became friends. So that's how I get those positions at University of Support 40 years later.
40 years later, because you were in third grade.
with Howard, it's Howard that's giving me, because like I said, I'll be.
But you knew each other.
We knew each other. He'll be calling me in a week or so to do the Christmas party at River Oaks Country Club, because I do that every year.
Very cool.
But I'm just saying that I've just always been in the mix. Just just cause, man. It just happens. It's all about who you know in this business. It's all about who you freaking know, man.
Man, so I wanted to I might miss my opportunity to ask this, but I had a guest, Big Baby Green, and he said that to me that you have to have an ego to do this business. Even if you're nobody, like you got to believe that everyone is shit and that you're the only one who's fly, no matter what, because you got to be crazy. You got to be touching the head to be doing this in the first place.
You really do. And
So I wanted to ask you, like, of all the people you've worked with, who had the biggest, craziest ego?
oh, Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey did.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
More than Dave Chappelle?
Dave didn't have an ego. Dave is the most down to earth
See, I want to take that from him, but
dude is just cool. I mean, I'll tell you a funny story. So, and this was when Dave was just before he really hit with the Chappelle show. He came to the Laugh Stop, and like I said, I'm the comedian, the black comedian that Mark Babbitt uses to drive all the other black comedians around the town. Matter of fact, I was the one that had to go and pick them up from the airport,
okay.
take them to radio interviews, take them to that. So, Dave is one of the guys, and man, we're driving down Scott. No, I'm not Scott. We're driving down Shepherd, going to the Laugh Stop, because the Laugh Stop is at West Gray and Shepherd. So we're going down Shepherd, man, and at this time I got this little fly ass Trans Am with T-tops and stuff, and Dave and I are driving, and so walking down Scott, it's like five young cats, and I mean, and they're walking like this. It's like they're walking side by side, five of them walking down, and it's like they're walking like they owning a sidewalk. And here's how it looks: white guy, no, I'm sorry, black guy, white guy in the middle, short white guy, black guy. And we just drive by him. And Dave said, Al, did you see that? I go, what? He says, you see those five guys? I go, yeah. He said, that's got to be the baddest motherfucking white guy in the history. And it just hit me. He's talking about, because he's in the middle of these black guys, and he's just walking like he's running the shit. Dave went everywhere. I took him to the hood, because when black guys came in, they want, hey, I want to go, eat some, go eat soul food, barbecue, or whatever.
Oh, there's a really good one that just opened up right around the corner here called Lord Have Mercy. What
Yeah,
a crazy ass name
yeah.
for a restaurant.
Man, listen,
Good soul food, though.
I took Dave to Diamonds. Diamonds was the black strip club. It was called the Butt Naked House, because the women walk around butt ass naked. And so when we got there, the owners knew me, because I brought Tommy Davis in there, Tony Rock, Ornez J, any black guy that comes to Houston, I'm taking them by there, because that's the black club, and the guys would always show me some favor. But when Dave walked in, they's like, oh shit, all booties on duty. So they send us to the private room, and they have all the girls coming there, and we get to pick, whatever. But Dave used to do this joke about, hey, Al took me to this place. The bitches got barbecue sauce on their booties and bullet holes anyway. But he was just so cool, man. He wasn't pretentious at all. He got along with people, man. He know how to make people feel good, just regular people. Like he's not afraid to meet fans. He would, Steve would never do that. He would, he's going to isolate himself. Tommy Davis was kind of like that, but Tommy is a really nice guy, but he does prefer black things. He prefers.
Do you think, like, Dave Chappelle knows, though, that, like, he's the top comic, black comic, though?
Hell yeah. Yeah, of course he knows. But
he just doesn't have that ego for it.
No, but he would probably, I don't think he wouldn't say he's a black comic, but he would give credit to Richard Pryor. He would give credit to Paul Mooney. He would give credit to Dick Gregory. He would give credit, to Rudy Ray Moore, Dolomite, because he did, and he would give credit to people that he works with, guys that are openers or whatever. He just, I haven't met, Well, the only other comedian that cool was Rudy Ray Moore, Dolomite. Man, then that's the legend. I mean, that's folklore. That's that's what Eddie made that movie about Rudy Ray Moore. Man, that's true. He was, man, just great, man. Just a real helpful person, man. A person that wants to see you do well.
There's not many of those.
So he's going to impart wisdom on you about how you should conduct yourself. But and Dick Gregory was he's a man. Dick Gregory, I'll tell you like this. In terms of hierarchy of comedians, a good friend of mine named D. Militant, Daryl Littleton, he's since passed, but he wrote this book on black comedy. And he says that if black comedy was Mount Olympus, Richard Pryor would be Hercules, but Dick Gregory would be Zeus. Dick Gregory is the first black comedian really the first black entertainer to sit down on a late night talk show next to the host, like the Jack Parr show, even before the Johnny Carson show. First comedian and black entertainer to play the Playboy Club. If Dick Gregory hadn't become so altruistic and become a civil rights worker, there's no telling what would have happened with him. He's legendary, so we know. But Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby, all credit Dick with being prior to them. So, but I learned a lot from.
So the line of comedy, it starts with him, with Dick.
Yeah, well, it starts with Dick. Now, Richard Pryor's the greatest, and, then you would probably, I don't know, definitely, I say definitely Dave, but I think it becomes relative after that because Flip Wilson is great. Paul Mooney is great. Bill Cosby is great. So you just can't say who is the greatest of all time. But
the biggest influences.
Well, he was the first. Okay. Well, no. It's Godfrey Cambridge. If you're just talking about history, Pigmeat Markham, Red Fox. There are some guys who are prior to that, but with the age of social media, internet, Dave Chappelle probably gonna be,
who is it now? Is it still Dave?
Oh yeah, I believe so, without a doubt. Dave sets the standard, man, of what it is right now. But like I say, just a super cool guy, man. I think that's how you're supposed to be at some point.
So you don't think Dave has that ego, that I'm the greatest?
No, I think he knows he's the greatest, but I don't think he goes around.
It just doesn't come out.
He's not going around, thumping his chest and saying, hey, he just knows it.
Well, you have to. I mean, there's going on being visible about it, but you have to know that. Somehow you have to know that there's no one better than you.
Well, you look at his specials. That says it.
Yeah.
The highest paid, African American comedian, $20 million for a Netflix special. See, he doesn't have to say it. Everyone else says it for him, and then his work speaks for himself. See, when you gotta say, "Hey, I'm the greatest," like Denzel Washington say, the loudest person in the room is the weakest person in the room. You don't need to say it if you are. Paul Mooney never said that, but he's great, man. So I certainly believe that Dave knows that he's a torchbearer right now. But
that's cool.
Things could change because remember at one time it was Chris Rock.
I do remember Chris Rock being the best.
Yeah,
I still think he's pretty awesome.
And then if you truth be told, Dave would tell you it's Eddie Murphy.
I love Eddie Murphy, man.
And then maybe if you talk to Eddie and you talk to Dave, you talk to Chris, they would probably say, hey, Damon Wayans is phenomenal. you know,
Yeah.
it becomes relative at some point. And like you say, nobody knows how funny Robert Townsend was because he became, a film director. No one really understood how funny Keenan Ivory Wayans was because he became a film director and a television producer. So Monique is working great, man. In terms of just stand up.
Oh yeah, her stand up is crazy.
Whoopi Goldberg is freaking phenomenal. No one even realizes how great she was back in the day. And then, David Allen Greer is fucking phenomenal, man. There are so many guys who don't get the credit that I believe they should get because maybe they didn't have the movies or, the television shows. But as far as stand up is concerned, yeah, man. Cat Williams is killing right now. And I like Cat because Cat's not afraid to have real funny guys on his tour because he's got Tommy Davidson, he's got Melody Camacho, he's got Mark Curry, he's got these people on his tour. Who does that? Who takes out the top guys? Generally, you don't want guys who.
No, you don't want to be. Yeah, you don't want someone funnier than you.
No, but he doesn't. He doesn't. But
I mean, the greats don't care. They know they're going to crush it.
No, but my favorite person is Dave, just in terms of personal, and then you see the relationship he has with his mother, the relationship he has with his wife and kids. That's really legit. That's what's important in the main scheme.
Yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, it's just what you did to make money. I mean, it's important to create that culture and and enjoy something when you're working, your whole career. But
yeah,
it's about your family. Once you have kids, it's about your family, right?
It really is, man.
Yeah, you kind of a little bit ends with you a little bit and stops becoming about you.
Oh, absolutely. And I tell you, there's a guy named Tony Woods. You don't know him, but Dave Chappelle credits Tony with him being where he's at because that was his mentor in Washington, D.C. And he's just a regular guy right now, a regular headliner, just, kind of works the circuit. So there are a lot of guys who we never see. And there's always somebody behind the great ones. Another guy is Sinbad. Sinbad was a phenomenal comedian, man.
Yeah, no, he's a dramatic actor.
No, Sinbad is he's not acting right now. He's, but he was an actor. He did do some acting, but man, this business is phenomenal, man. That's nothing like it. But Big Baby Green, one of my favorite.
He's so funny.
He's right, man. You got to have an ego to do any of this, man, because you know what? Stand-up comedy is at best, when you're really good at it, it's a 70-30 prospect, which means 70% of the time you win, 30% of the time you're getting your ass handed to you. And you have to in order to be good. You're not going to be good every night. If you're average, it's about 50-50. If you're not good at it at all, it's about 20-80. But, you're never going to win all the time. But you have to maintain your continence, your constitution, your ego when you're not winning.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Like after that bomb, and still thinking that you're the best.
Well, you bomb so much, you learn how to bomb gracefully.
Yeah, it stops hurting as much. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it still hurts now. Shit.
I said as much.
Yeah.
Like I've had a way more bomb sets than I've had good sets. It's like I think I've been on 400, 500 open mics.
Yeah.
I've done maybe, I don't know, 20 good sets in that 500 open mics.
Shit. Listen, I'm like I said, I'm probably one of those 70-30 guys. But it's like when I bomb, I explode. I bomb bad, man.
I think we all do.
I remember I bombed at the Apollo Theater, and man, it was so bad that that the producer, after I came off stage, because they give you an escort at the Apollo. You have someone that walks you around because they don't just want you wandering around Apollo or around Harlem. It's like, hey, your escort is going to go and take you back to the train. because those people are savage. Those people at the Apollo, I think they were standing in line waiting to come in, practicing booing, boys,
Yeah.
Uh,
The same insult they last week.
yeah. No, man. Listen, I didn't have an ideal set like I felt like I did last night, and I was up to 3 a.m. going, man, God, man, do I still want to do this shit? and I am 41 years in, I say that all the time, man. Because
I still want to do this shit.
Because it hurts, man, when you love something so much, and you get rejected. I mean, and that's what it is. It's rejection.
Yeah, you have to be good with rejection.
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna be in this business, remember I tell you my acting teacher said, hey, the person who makes it in this business,
Someone who doesn't have
it doesn't have
the sense to stop. Yeah.
when they should.
Yeah, I definitely felt that about drawing. Like I should not have gotten this good at illustrating. Like I should have stopped decades ago.
Right. Yeah. No, but you can't.
But you can't. Yeah, you really can't.
You can't stop, man.
No.
You really can't. And then you can't measure your success against someone else.
Yeah, what about what other people are doing? Like I am so far behind some of my peers. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, but yeah, maybe, but like no one can compare themselves.
I'm on the timeline for myself, and I'm good with that. But like
then that's good. Yeah. But no comedian can compare himself against Dave Chappelle. You can't think, well, if I don't get a $20 million Netflix special, then that means I shouldn't do it or that I'm not good. No, that's not what it means. Because if you love doing something, remember they say you never work a day in your life when you do something you love. If you do it and you love it, because there are guys, who are not famous, they're road dogs, like Jim Holder. Jim Holder probably works 45 weeks out of the year. No one knows who he is, but he's happy because he headlines 45 weeks out of the year, and that was his goal, was to get paid every weekend, make a living, and doing stand-up. So, you don't measure yourself against the top 5%.
No, that's impossible.
Right.
But I consider myself successful because I'm able to make a little bit of money with photography. I'm able to make a little bit of money with drawing, and how many people do that? Like,
yeah.
So I'm happy that I can do that full time. And I have the ability to.
You're in the small percentage of people in the world,
very, very small,
who do that. Like, and I tell comedians all the time, you realize that you're in the top 8% of people in the world who do this for a living. So that in itself says a lot.
It's so hard.
Yeah, man. Nothing great comes easy.
If it was easy, it wouldn't be worth doing.
Right. And I was about to say everybody would be doing it. Everybody's trying to do comedy.
Yeah. You see people try, but they don't make it. No, they don't stick it out.
No, the breakdown is hard. Like I said, they got hobbyists and they got professionals.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh man, well I think that's a good spot as any to stop.
Yeah, man.
You laid down so much of your history. Like I cannot believe like your career is pretty phenomenal.
Well, there's so much more, man. There's.
So you're going to go back on tour now that the kids are older?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, it's funny that because my promise was, and I made this promise in an epiphany because when I left Los Angeles, when I realized my marriage was going to be over with, I had achieved a goal because I had reached Los Angeles. I was working for the WB. I had a #1 play. Because I worked for Steve Harvey, it was easy for me to get up in nightclubs. So I had accomplished the goal. I had an apartment at Franklin and Bronson Street in Old Hollywood. That's across from what the old Mayfair Mall. In other words, this building that I lived in, that was a 4-year waiting list to get into this apartment because it was like 4 blocks from Hollywood Boulevard. I could see the Hollywood sign from my living room window. I had a little red convertible Mustang downstairs. I was on top of the world. But I realized I got to go home because I got to be a father. And the deal I made with the divine, because I was crying. I was like, I've been wanting to do this all my life.
Yeah, you were exactly what you wanted to be.
And I gotta leave. And whatever it was says, just remember that I will replace everything that's stolen, all of the years that the locusts have eaten. And so the promise was, get the kids to college to where they can be solid, respectable adults that can make it on their own. Then you got your life. But right now, they're your life. Everybody has done that. College graduates, law school, going to law school, going. So now is my time.
You're back in it.
And ironically, things are starting to. I mean, it's magical how things are starting to happen.
Are you making those open phone calls again and like trying to?
Well, I'm getting phone calls.
You're getting.
Like, I on the way here, I got a phone call from a producer in Padre. Said, "Hey man, are you ready to come down?" And where did this come from? Well, yeah, and I'm getting. It's just amazing how things are starting to turn around. But I believe it's because I kept my word.
Do you think this is like the second act or the third act?
Oh, yeah, this is the fourth act.
This is the fourth act.
Yeah.
You think it's going to be the strongest one?
Oh, without a doubt, because I know so much now. I'm a producer now. Look, I've opened for the best. Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Tony Rock, Steve Harvey, Sinbad, George Wallace. I have people's phone numbers in my phone that I can call my kids. When Kevin Hart's last special was just recently.
Yeah, I just saw that a couple nights ago. It was good. I enjoyed that one.
Well, when he a few years back when he did that Kevin Hart, Heart of the City, and Comedy Central came here and filmed that deal, that was at my spot. That was at my comedy night. But it's because people haven't forgotten about me. And so I know that this time is going to be great, man, because I'm solid. I'm mature now.
You got some kick-ass headshots now too.
I got some headshots, brother.
When was the last time you had those headshots taken, man?
You know what, Ben Daniel,
dude, he got you so bad, dude. Oh my god.
Yeah,
dude, man.
At this point, you're catfishing now.
Yeah, I think about that once a day, man. That comment, man. He hit you so hard. I was like, fucking Ben.
If you look at those headshots, you look at that one else. Those headshots were taken 20 years ago when I was walking away. Because they were taken because at the time I was getting ready to make a move because I was working for Steve because I had a #1 play because I was in Los Angeles. They said, hey, this is your time right now. You've been working. I worked 20 years prior to then. Now, this is the guy just like you. Say, hey, man, just let me shoot you. Just let me shoot that one shoot with the black suit and the red tie. Hey, I'm gonna shoot you. I want to be able to shoot you. And that was the last time because I didn't have time or money to do it because all my money was going on my family and my kids. And this career takes money. That's why I was telling comedians,
yeah.
You have to have a job to do this. If you're not in the top 5%, you got to have a job because
I'm only surrounded by all this stuff because of my full-time job.
Yeah,
I mean, my full-time job is providing some of the cameras here. Shout out to Photo Rental Stores for sure for being my unofficial sponsor. But yeah, man.
Yeah, man, you can't.
Got to.
Yeah, you
got to work.
Yeah. So, but yeah, God is good, man. I meant to say that at the beginning. But what's happening for me right now is.
You think it's associated to divine will now?
Oh, without a doubt. Because as I said, I said in tears to whoever I was praying, and that feeling, that consciousness, that voice said, "Hey, you got to take care of your kids. You got to be a father."
Yeah, that's got to be done first.
And I will replace everything that was lost, all the years that were lost. So I believe, or I know, I'm going to get everything that I would have gotten had I stayed. And when I got the break, as opposed to saying, I got to go home and be a family man. I got to go home and take care of my kids. I'm a single father. My kids needed me. They were 3, 4, 3, and a few months old. I mean, You
What choice you got? You got to do that, right?
I you know, I wouldn't have. I would have been nuts if because there was some people say, why don't you just keep going? Your kids are gonna be all right. What if you would
Mm-hmm.
have went and hit? What if you would have became famous and you could have took care of them? But I probably would have been nuts because I walked away from my responsibility. I walked away from my kids. Some other man raised my kids.
Yeah, well, it's a soul killer.
I'm telling you,
You maintained your soul, man. You maintained what it was that made you you.
I feel so good every day when I look at my children and know how amazing they are. 4 college graduates.
They're going to want you there when they get walked out. You're going to be walking down the aisle instead of some other
Yeah,
dude, you know?
yeah. Well, I talked to my daughter in Colorado. She's at, like I said, she's at University of Denver Law School on a full academic ride.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm just so proud of her. And I'm so glad that I didn't miss that from, because we went through a lot from, they were little babies and they are amazing adults now. I wouldn't trade, if I had to do it all over again, I would do some things different, but I would do that. I would
That wouldn't change for
no,
sure.
no. Man, I thank you, man. This has been
All right.
liberating and
It's been a blast, dude. I can't believe it's already been 2 hours. But please
wow.
tell it has, man.
Wow.
Please tell everyone how they can find you, where you're going to be next. Yeah.
Listen, I'm I'm at the secret group almost every weekend. That's that's the comics hangout.
Yeah,
That's,
right now that's
yeah,
it.
yeah, that's it. And I'll be at I'll be at the Punchline tomorrow. I'll be at the Punchline tomorrow night. So, and if you just go to my social media, Al Freeman, ALL Freeman on Facebook, you'll find out everywhere I'm at. Instagram is Al Freeman Top Comic. You'll find out there, and I'm telling you folks, just look, I'm coming. This blessing is about to unfold, and I've learned so much along the way. I've gotten to make so many good friends. I've gotten to know so many good people, and
More than anything, yeah, you networked. You created that network.
and I'm gonna say this before they leave. And like I said, there's so much. I was in North Carolina, and I had to have a layover. So they said it was gonna be 4 hours before I could leave. And so I went to the bookstore, and the first book I saw was this. It was a shiny book, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was the Berry Gordy story. Berry Gordy, who brought Motown, and everybody know the Motown story. All the great artists, how he brought music. The Jacksons and Marvin Gaye and the Four Tops and Stevie Wonder and Smokey Robinson. But he could have been a musician himself, but he said he brought all these other people, and that's what I see. That could have been the purpose. There are so many people who are gonna get a shot if it's up to me. Right here in Houston, been putting it down, and a lot of them. You've interviewed some of them. Some yet to be interviewed. That are great. Ray, etc. Lil Daryl, Leroy the Third. Joe. Jay Cookie. Nitra, Larry Goodwell, Jamal Raw, Hannah Abney. It could go on and on. This is a phenomenal town to be doing.
It really is a
comedy
great
in.
town for it.
And I've been to every major city in the United States, every podunk city in the United States. I lived in Los Angeles, of course. Stayed a long time in New York. This is an amazing city to be doing comedy. And the guys at the Secret Group, are visionaries. Man, Steven is legendary. Andrew Youngblood. The things they're doing over at the Riot You know, what Brian is doing is amazing. What Al Rucker is doing over at All Jokes Aside is is just phenomenal, man. Um, you know what Billy Sherrills is over at the Hive doing great, and we can name all the other open mics and one nighters that you can really make a career here.
Yeah, you could do 3 open mics every night.
Yeah, and get good because
You can
the
get good.
talent is good. So you
If you're staying, you're watching.
you better when you come to the stage, you better bring it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you again.
All right. Yeah. Once again, my name is Steven Rosenbaum. You can find my work at Owen Stevens Photography. Check me out at Rosenbaum Draws. Check me out at Owen Stevens Photography on Facebook and Instagram. And please always like and subscribe. That's the name of my new podcast. Check us out on TikTok at that same handle.
Yes.
I'm going to leave you guys with a really quick video, and then we're all set. Yeah. Can you hear this yet? Can you hear this yet? Is it working? Did I make it work? How about now? How about now? Boom.
So this was live.
Can you hear this yet? Can you hear this yet?
yeah,
Is it working? Did I make it work? How about now? How about now?